Alrighty, so just want to welcome you to Accounting 732. This is governmental and not-for-profit accounting. So I really just wanted to kind of introduce myself. I know some of you already know me because you've taken a few classes with me. Some of you may not know me though, if you're distance students or international students or whatever the case may be. So I'm Kyle Gooden. Teach several classes here at Missouri State. I teach Intro to Financial. I teach the Honors Intro course. I teach Professionalism and Accountancy. I teach this class as well. On occasion, I will teach GEP, which is like the Welcome to College class, where I get to like yell at freshmen, incoming freshmen, about you need to study hard and all these good things like that. So I teach all of that. I am a graduate of Missouri State University. I got my undergraduate here. I also got my master's degree here. Um, with that master's degree, I've also got a certification, a graduate certificate in fraud and forensic accounting. I am a certified fraud examiner through the ACFE, which is the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. I am also looking to work on my CGFM, which is Certified Government Financial Manager, but that's a little ways down the road because I'm currently also working through a PhD program, which is uh, time consuming to say the least, takes up a bit of my time. So, on the in the interest of being honest with you guys, there are occasions, once this summer, twice this summer, I think, where you just probably are not going to be able to get a hold of me, and your best bet will be to get a hold of Gerald Sheely, who is the summer GA that will occasionally work on this course with me. And the reason I'll be unavailable is simply because I will be in Stillwater, Oklahoma at Oklahoma State University for my PhD residency weekends. So I'm not out having fun. Believe me, I'm out reading papers and sitting in 8-hour seminars all weekend. So, but that is why you may not be able to get a hold of me. And I'll make that known through announcements on Brightspace that I'll be gone that weekend. Anyways, this class is primarily going to focus on governmental accounting. Um, Technically, it'll be more state and local accounting, simply because the federal government follows different standards, and it's really, especially in an 8-week course, it's kind of hard to teach you guys both the state and local standards and the federal government standards. So most of what we will learn in this class will be state and local standards for governmental accounting. We will do one chapter on not-for-profit accounting. I kind of hate that the class is titled governmental and not-for-profit, simply because we don't really focus much on the not-for-profit side. And the reason that we don't is because, for the most part, they account very similarly to the state and local governmental entities. There is one significant difference, but we will talk about that difference in the chapter that we go over um, the not-for-profit entities, and that difference really is just what we call donor restrictions. So when somebody donates funds to a not-for-profit, there are certain types of restrictions that are put on those funds and how they're able to be used. Anyways, that's for later in the class, and we will talk about that at greater length. The first thing I really want to do is just kind of go through a couple of things in the syllabus. This is a graduate class, and you'll hear me say this on occasion. It's a grad class. You guys should, by now, be aware that you have to read the syllabus. You need to go through the syllabus. I try to keep mine fairly short. It's 5 pages, really. For the final page, page 5, just goes over some academic integrity issues, things like that. But really, it's pretty standard syllabus uh, discussion. A couple of things I want to point out just because of the structure of the class. The first one is office hours. I'm not going to hold office hours during the summer, but if you request a meeting with me, we can hop on Zoom, or if you're in Springfield and want to meet in person, I'm more than happy to do that, and we can meet on campus. But since it's online and it's over the summer, the office hours are upon request. So the impetus is on you as the student to request those hours. I'm not going to be um, searching you out to beg you to meet me for office hours. You need to have McGraw-Hill Connect. Okay. You should get that through the bookstore. Really what'll happen is when you click on the link to your first homework or your first assignment or whatever it is, it'll take you to Connect and ask you to register and all that good stuff. If you've got the Streamline Ed here, that should be mostly taken care of for you. Zoom, the only reason I ask that you have Zoom or Teams or something like that is if you want to have a meeting with me, we can meet via Zoom and it just makes it a little bit easier. Technology, I'm going to really emphasize here that it is up to you, the student, to make sure that you've got reliable technology and that you've got a computer that works, an internet that works, or at least access to those things. That is not something I'm going to take care of for you. If you're on campus, you can go to Meyer Library. Nothing we do in this class requires any kind of proctoring or anything like that, so you don't have to go to the testing center, but Meyer Library is a good resource. I know that they will also rent laptops to students if you need them. So you would just need to go to the library and talk to them about how to do that. But please don't email me with an excuse about why your comprehensive problem's late because your computer doesn't work, right? Like that's on you to get fixed. I can't help you with that. You're going to have to regularly access these, right? These assignments and things like that. There's a lot. It's an 8-week graduate course. There's a lot of work in this course. So you need to make sure that you are checking it on the daily, regularly engaging with these things. Okay. Our weeks technically begin on Mondays, Monday morning at 12 o'clock a.m. and they end on Sunday evenings at 11:59 p.m. Okay, and that's Central Standard Time. Keep that in mind. I'm not keeping track of where everybody's time zones are or anything like that. Everything we do in this class is done on Central Standard Time. Okay, so make sure you are aware of that. It says here that no later than 11:55 p.m. for assignments on Connect. I believe it is actually 11:59, but just be on the edge of caution there to make sure you give yourself a couple of minutes in case an upload goes wrong or something like that, or a submission goes wrong. That way you don't turn things in late. Speaking of things being late, we're not going to turn in late. There are no exceptions for late work in the class. I know a lot of you, it's summer, and so you tend to try to go on trips and things like that. I've got too many students. I have a couple hundred students this summer and 4 different sections of classes teaching this summer, so I'm not going to spend time individually updating due dates, things like that. That's going to be on you. If you scheduled a vacation with your bros or your girls during the middle of this class, you're going to have to find a way to make sure you keep up with the work. It's a graduate level course. You guys are adults. You are graduate students. You should be able to manage your time in such a way that those aren't an issue. So please, please don't email me expecting sympathy because you and your bros are still hungover from last weekend or whatever the case is. Okay. Email me. That's going to be the best way to get a hold of me. You can call the phone number here, but honestly, that's my office phone number. Shocker, I don't give you my cell phone number. But this is my office number, and really, unless I'm sitting in my office, I'm not going to get it. If you leave a voicemail, it will come to my email, and I can listen to the voicemail and contact you that way. But the best way to get a hold of me is just to send me an email. If you've been in a class of mine before, you know that I'm very responsive to emails. I try my best to get back to you as quickly as I can. If I am sitting on my couch reading articles, or let's be honest, playing video games, I tend to email you back pretty quickly if I see that come through. So just email me if you have a question. Again, and I've said this 100 times already, you guys are graduate students. You should be comfortable enough with your faculty that if you have a question or a concern, just email and let me know immediately. Okay. I do ask that you only use your email, your Missouri State email when you're emailing me, though. If you email me from a Yahoo or a Gmail or something like that, I'm not going to email you back. It's just not going to happen. So make sure that you do that. Grading policy is pretty simple: A, B, C, D, F. I'm not a big fan of plus or minuses, so we just do straight A, B, C, D, F in this class. This one's really important to me. Make sure you read through this. don't email me to round your grade up at the end of the semester. Okay, my answer is going to be no, and that's for a couple reasons. I do rounding throughout the semester anyways, typically, so I've already done enough. Okay, and then asking me to provide you with a grade that you did not actually earn is a violation of the university's academic integrity policy, but it also puts me in a position where you're asking me to violate my own integrity. I do not do it, guys. Okay, so don't email me. If you email me asking, can I please get those extra 2 points, you're just not going to see an email back from me. Okay. However, I will say if you feel like I graded something wrong or I calculated something wrong, which does happen, I make mistakes, right? Then you should email me because I can go in and take a look at that, and if need be, I can appeal to the university to have that grade changed. Okay, but that's only if I've actually made a mistake, right? Um, you guys take grad classes already, so you should be familiar. We typically there's not that many points in a grad class, and so I run this one as such. And really, the big bulk of your points are going to come here through this comprehensive continuous problem. Okay, 600 of your 900 points in this class, or 66% of your points, are going to come from that problem. Do not sleep on it. Okay. Do not wait until the last minute to start this thing. It is at the very least probably 12 hours, maybe up to 18, just depending on how comfortable you are with the content. Okay. You'll have homework every week. You'll have smart books every week. They're not crazy long. The smart books, the homework, the quizzes, none of those are crazy long. Thus, why they're only worth 10 points apiece. Okay. So just know that those are only worth 10 points apiece. And the reason is they are for practice for that comprehensive problem. Okay, they're getting you used to those comprehensive problems, or they're getting you ready to tackle that comprehensive problem. Also note, you don't have any exams in this class. Okay, really, I don't like the idea of making you guys take a test every other week. In a summer course, you've already got enough going on. So this comprehensive problem kind of serves as your assessment for the course. Okay, I've got a big blurb about it here. Okay. Um, I think, like I said, it's going to probably take you 12 to 18 hours to complete that comprehensive problem since it's large and, as the name suggests, it's comprehensive of everything we talk about in the class. Okay. For that reason, I have made all of the materials in the class available from the first day of the course. Okay. So that you can start working on them whenever you want. All right. You can go through them at your own pace. However, you should note that there are still some pretty strict due dates on the homework, the quizzes, and the smart book. Comprehensive problem is due on July 25th, the last day of the class, right? So you have access to everything on day one of the class so that you can start working on it. You really won't be able to start working on the comprehensive problem until chapter 4, after we've gone through really of uh, the basics of governmental accounting. So we'll talk about what is governmental accounting, and then we'll talk about what type of funds do we use in a governmental accounting and how are they used. We'll talk about budgeting in governmental accounting because that's incredibly important when you're talking about the government. Budgets are legislated; they are legally required to have. You are legally required to have and follow a budget. So we got to talk about all that first, and then we'll get into the individual all 11 different fund types individually throughout the rest of the course. And so chapter 4 is where we really start that. So you won't really be able to start on the comprehensive problem until you've gotten through the chapter 4 materials. So my suggestion would be to not slack off, that I would start working on these things as soon as possible. Okay. The textbook is a great resource for you. It's always available to you. You can get to it through Connect. On the left-hand side of your screen, when you log into Connect, it'll have a little picture of the textbook on the side. And you just click on that and it takes you to the textbook. Again, and I'm going to say this one more time, and probably 1,000 more times throughout the semester, this is a graduate level course. My expectation is you're reading the book. Okay. The lectures that I give you, they're going to cover the highlights of the topics. The book is where you're going to get the detail. So if you run into a problem that's stumping you on your homework or on the comprehensive problem or during a quiz, the textbook is going to be a great resource for you. Okay, it's going to be a great resource for you to check out and make sure, double check, read it. Just read through the textbook. It's a short one. I picked a very small textbook for a reason, and that's because it's easy to read. Okay, it's easy to read. It gets to the point. It doesn't bog you down with a whole bunch of BS that you don't really need to know. It just gets to the point. So my recommendation would be read the textbook. When you run into a problem, read the textbook. Read the textbook. Okay. And I'm going to ask you when you email me, did you read the textbook? Did you read that part of the chapter? Before I start answering questions, because my expectation of you as a graduate student is that you've done your own research, right? And you have exhausted all efforts to answer the question on your own, right? So that's my expectation of you as a graduate student. Um, so there is that. That's the syllabus basically, guys. The course calendar I'll pull up really quickly for you as well, just so we can see it. Let me see if I can find it. Let me pull it up real quick. Here we go. All right. So here is the course calendar. It's set up, if you've taken a class with me before, it's set up like all my other course calendars. It's a template that I've created that I use. It's the simplest to use. What you'll see here on the left-hand side is the week, the date, and then what are we doing that week? So you'll need to, excuse me, ignore the Respondus practice exam. I meant to delete that and I forgot to. We're not doing that. So all you really have to do is watch chapter 1 and 2 lecture videos for week 1, begin working on the chapter 1 and 2 homework, SmartBook, quizzes. Those are all due on Monday, June 9th in Connect. You'll see that the C tells you this is due in Connect. That's where you go to do it. And that's how the calendar is set up. You shouldn't have too many questions about the calendar. If you do, though, you can always contact me. This is available for you on Brightspace. All of your assignments linked through Connect are going to show up in the calendar on Brightspace as well, the built-in internal calendar in Brightspace. I think at this point you can probably trust that. In the past I've told students not to, but now I think it's okay. So the course calendar looks like this. If you have any questions, please let me know. You'll notice we don't have any content we're covering in week 8 of the course. And that's just because I want you guys working on that comprehensive assessment project. I would recommend that you start working on it pretty early, probably week 2 or 3, start working on it. But some of you are going to completely ignore that advice, and I totally get it. But that's why I left no content in week 8. That way, all you've got to do for this course is just work on that if you need to. Okay. The only other thing I really kind of want to talk to you guys about for the class is the lecture videos. So the government did some fun things, and the one fun thing that they did is that they changed an acronym, and that acronym had to be changed in the textbook, and it is literally the only thing that changed about the textbook. Essentially what they did is, in the past, for old guys like me, we called the annual report for state level government the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. And nobody actually called it that. We just called it by its acronym, the CAFR. Okay, CAFR. We called it a CAFR, and everybody knew what you were talking about. Well, apparently that was a derogatory term in South Africa, and unbeknownst to us, we'd been using it for years and years and years. And so the government, all the governments, state level governments got together and they said, you know what, we're going to change this so that we're not offending people, and we're going to change it to the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, the ACFR. Okay, so the acronym changed, and they had to change it in the textbook. Literally with the updated edition, that is pretty much the only thing that changed in the textbook. I did not feel like I needed to re-record all of my lecture videos just for that. So if you hear me refer to the CAFR or the CAFR, that is what I'm talking about, is the ACFR. Okay, so don't get confused. If you do, just email me. I'll re-clarify that for you again. The other thing to note is that I also talk about notes in the class on occasion, and those are kind of fill in the blank notes. Those are something I stepped away from. I'm not doing those anymore. If you want, I can post them for you guys so that you can follow along with the lecture videos and with the textbook and all that good stuff. They are pretty useful. I may post them anyways. But they will never be worth points. You'll never have to turn them in. They will just be there for you as a resource. So if you hear me mention those in the videos, you can ignore that as well. Okay. Well, we're hitting 20 minutes. I'm sure you guys are bored and especially on double speed hearing me say a whole lot. So I will call it there. But if you have any questions, just feel free to email me and we can work it out. Thanks.